Hokey Religion is an ancient weapon. Match for a good blaster at your side.
Welcome to Hokey Religion, the Star Wars podcast. This is Tyler.
And this is Michael.
And we're back for episode 41.
41, one more than last time.
That's usually going to be the case until we get really confusing and just start skipping random numbers.
2 more than last time.
People are frantic looking around. What did I miss? Where is it?
Are they really?
No.
No one's frantically doing anything for this show. Not even us.
Nothing, yeah. Nothing about the show is frantic.
No.
Except for the fact that I finished Empire's End about 20 minutes before we started recording.
Because you texted me the other day, yesterday?
Day before yesterday.
I'm still not done. I've got 20% left.
Oops. Yeah. I realized that I had said that a couple times, that I would finish it before we recorded.
I thought you've only said that once so far. You've only said, right?
Maybe twice.
Maybe that's right.
But I did finish it.
In any case.
And I have
You're done.
My bookmarks and notes and dog ears.
We have 3 pages of notes.
It.
We have 3 pages of notes for this episode, which is rare.
Correct. And they're
usually
all about Empire's End, which Michael has no context for, or rebuttals or opinions, because he hasn't read any of them.
I have some opinions. A few opinions. About
the book, or just in general?
that I don't want to read it.
Yeah, well, that's...
One. Opinion 1.
Opinion 1.
I don't want to read it.
1.
Opinion 2. I kind of want to read it.
You really should. They're good books. As we continue to discuss every time that we mention it.
What?
That they're good books. Read them.
Well, it's discuss. Is it really a discussion? It's more like you just telling me that they're good books.
Sure.
And I have to take your word for it. And I usually argue with you.
That's the nature of friendship.
You telling me things and me not agreeing? That's how our friendship goes.
That's why we work, Michael.
I argue about everything just because, and you have to have an opinion about everything.
Then I just know that I'm right in the end. Yeah, that's our friendship. And now at this point, Thrawn comes out in a few weeks, 2 weeks.
I don't know.
It comes out before Celebration.
What would an episode of Hokey Religion be without us not knowing something?
Celebration is in, I believe, 3 weeks from this upcoming. Well, when this episode comes out, it will have been 3 weeks by the Thursday before you're hearing this episode.
What?
That's as confusing as I can get. I can't get any worse than that, Michael. What do you want?
I can't do any better.
Yes,
it'll be 3 weeks from 2 days from now.
If that's not clear.
2 days from now when we're recording. Which was 4 days ago from when you're hearing this. If you're listening to it on the day it came out. If you're not listening to it on the day it came out, it's going to be closer. Unless you're listening during or after Celebration, in which case it already happened / it's happening right now.
It releases 2 days before Celebration starts.
What does?
Thrawn, which is April 11th.
Not the podcast.
Not the podcast.
Okay.
This podcast comes out on a Monday the 27th. Which is...
Maybe dates would be more helpful. Actual
2
dates.
2 weeks. When you hear this episode, Thrawn will come out in 2 weeks and 1 day.
What's the date? What's the actual date that Thrawn comes out?
I already said that. April 11th.
No, you said this podcast comes out.
No. I did.
You said 27th for something.
Yes, that's when this podcast comes out.
Yeah, that's the only date
March
you gave.
27th. And then before that, I said that Thrawn comes out on 2 days before Star Wars Celebration.
Okay,
April 11th.
All right.
So...
Is that 2 days? I thought it starts on the 14th.
Starts on Thursday the 13th.
Oh.
So...
Oh, we're going.
Yes, that is 3... Well, for us recording, that's 3 weeks. For you, the release of this episode, 2 weeks. So yes, Thrawn comes out in a few weeks. So at this point, don't read any other books.
2 days from now,
Thrawn
it comes
is
out
more important.
in 3 weeks. But 2 days from now, as of recording,
Correct.
Which is 4 days ago when you're hearing this.
We understand time. Don't explain it to us any extra.
Come on, we're really good at this.
So you really shouldn't start any other books now because Thrawn's going to come out, and you should read that one. I would hope that you would read Thrawn.
Are you talking to me or the listener?
You. Specifically you, the bad, horrible person.
Yes, I will read it.
Okay.
Me, the bad, horrible person, will read Thrawn.
That's required. Required reading for podcast school.
Maybe.
Maybe. Gosh dang it.
Podcast school.
Yeah.
What's that like? Is that where you learn to be a podcast or learn how to podcast?
No one knows how to do either of those, so there's no teachers. They just can't be done. I think
in either case, we should attend. Because we don't know how to do it, or this podcast doesn't know how to be a good one.
I just imagine podcast school is just a bunch of like really old radio people trying to figure out what is podcast and how do I continue. That's every community college class.
Old people sitting there trying to figure out, how do I do this? Why do I continue?
That's accurate.
What do you take? You take a class every Monday.
I take college courses because
which one?
Took too long of a break in my younger years, and I'm finally finishing my bachelor's.
Well, that's fine. I don't have a degree, as it's probably obvious by now. If you listen to this show, you probably can
That's
guess
why he
that.
doesn't read, because he can't.
Well,
apparently you can't speak either, so I'll continue going with the podcast. All right. He made some tribal symbol signs at me, and we're continuing on.
What sign?
That's Michael said that was tribal, not me.
That's tribal. Right? West side? No?
So this week in Star
Who's
Wars...
being racist? You or me?
I'm not really sure. I'm never really sure.
Is that what you're going for here? I don't know what you're going for.
I don't know.
All right.
Star Wars.
What are we doing?
Podcast, I think.
What do we have to talk about today?
Not a lot has happened.
Nope.
As is the lull prior to Celebration, because I don't think much of anything is going to happen before Celebration other than announcements of who will be at Celebration, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of... Well, other than Rogue One. We'll have Rogue One information.
Is there a panel list yet?
No.
There's going to be that 40th anniversary panel on Thursday. Is that happening Thursday?
Yes. Yep.
And then...
Yep. That's about
definitely a Last Jedi panel.
Well, yeah, there's a Last Jedi panel.
It's got to be. And a Han Solo panel.
We know
right?
that.
Maybe?
I assume. I don't think it's been officially announced, but I mean, that's a safe assumption, I believe, to make.
All right.
And then there's stuff on... I don't know if there's exactly a panel on it, but they've made the announcement of the EA is going to be there with video game news.
Oh, that's right. That was
I believe there would be a panel possibly for that, showing stuff.
Yeah.
But until Celebration, other than Celebration announcements of what's going to be there, I think the only thing that's really going to be quote-unquote news, unless there's any leaks of the Last Jedi stuff, is Rogue One coming out on Blu-ray and any of the special feature things that happen with that.
Try not to sound so excited about
Yep.
all that. I'm
raring to go. I mean, there's not going to be any deleted scenes, so that's fine, whatever. Some of the special feature stuff has started to roll out like little clips, and it looks like it'll be enjoyable.
I saw some people complaining about the deleted scenes stuff.
That there's not going to be any?
Right, and I mean, it makes sense that there are no deleted scenes, right? Because of how it was shot and all the reshoots they had to do and all the stuff that got trashed.
I mean
there's probably not a lot of stuff
honestly,
hanging around.
There's a reason they are deleted scenes. Every movie that has DVD, Blu-ray that has deleted scenes on it, how often are you like, oh yeah, that really should have been in the movie? They're usually like, no, that was a weird thing they shot. That's really crappy.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the stuff that they probably have laying around is stuff that doesn't make sense in the context of the movie that we saw.
And it sounded like from from what we heard of the way they shot it and things like that it's not so much deleted quote scenes. It would just be like deleted shots.
Sure.
Like they didn't like rewrote. Well, they rewrote stuff, but I don't know how much they actually filmed. That would be like a full scene to actually show instead of just like, oh, here's a cool shot of Krennic pointing a gun, or here's a cool shot of Jyn standing in front of that TIE fighter on the little bridge thing, but not really like a scripted out scene.
I doubt it.
That was acted, maybe.
I doubt it. Or even if, like I'm saying, if they do have that, it's probably not something that makes sense in the movie, in this movie that we saw.
Like it could have fit in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah. It's not just like, well, this was kind of boring, so we cut it. You know, I don't know if they have anything like that. So yeah, I doubt that's possible. So I don't know what people are complaining about.
Yeah, we're basically getting deleted scenes from Gary Whitta, who was the original scriptwriter for Rogue One, before I guess the rewrites, or he worked on the very early script.
I wonder how much of his work survived.
It's a good question. So he had an interview with, I think it was Variety magazine.
Yeah,
and he was saying how some of what changed, mainly characters that did survive, like Jyn and Cassian survived, and things about like how Krennic died. So he was saying that Jyn and Cassian escaped with both data tapes and their lives, and the villain of the story, Krennic, survived the battle, although barely. Instead of lying wounded on a transmission platform while the green beam of the Death Star literally incinerated him and on its trajectory into the planet, Krennic found shelter from the blast. In what sounds like a type of epilogue to the story, we would have seen his rescue by Imperial forces. They tore him out of the rubble and they brought him back. When they are going over the ruins, he somehow survived. He thinks he has served valiantly for the Emperor. He thinks he has done everything right, everything within his power, right up until an unseen force squeezes off the air in his throat.
Yes.
Basically, Vader killed him for his failure.
Yes.
That was the original way Krennic was supposed to die, was Vader killing him for his failure.
Isn't that what we said several times leading up to Rogue One, that Vader was going to kill Krennic?
That was our theory for him dying, and that was the original script, was that Vader was going to kill him for his failure.
That would have been really cool.
But Vader had obviously more important things to be dealing with than choking Krennic.
That's true. Well, it depends on how... Well, no, yeah, because he was pretty occupied from that point on.
Yeah, he was pretty on the ball with everything that was happening in
true.
In the
so
space.
Maybe it's better that didn't happen, but that would have been cool.
Yeah, so originally, also, K2 always died, but Jyn survived and Cassian survived. Like a rebel ship came down and got them off the surface, and then the transfer of the plans happened later. They jumped away, and Leia's ship from Alderaan came to help them, and they did a ship-to-ship data transfer that was, out off of Scarif. And then Darth Vader was still in pursuit and began attacking Jyn's shuttle as the rebels tried desperately to transfer the information from the data tapes to Leia's vessel. Finally, Vader was successful in breaching their shields and destroying the craft. The audience would have been left fearing the heroes were dead, but as Vader's Star Destroyer ventures off to chase Leia's Tantive 4, we would have remained focused on the shuttle fragments floating in the vastness of space. They got away in an escape pod just in time, would have said. The pod looked like just another piece of debris. So originally they would have survived, but it'd be like, oh, did they? But there would have been an escape pod in the debris.
So going back to the Vader thing, if that all was happening and the rebels were rescuing them, then that's like everyone goes down to the planet after the blast. So the Vader Krennic thing probably could have worked out.
If it happened, that's how it worked with the original script, yeah.
Right. But yeah, I don't like that really.
But yeah, I mean,
look at that! Oh, they got away.
But even with that, it's like, why was Vader? I don't know if I would have liked that, just because why is Vader so slow? Why is he just now involved with?
Why is he so slow? For what?
Why did he wait to not be involved in everything with the data transfer and the tapes until chasing them after they've had time to get people off of Scarif and fly away to somewhere else? Which, I mean, he would have been right there, like in the movie, like it happened, dealing with everything as a badass, instead of where I don't know, finishing up his bath, and then coming out to see them.
Well, that's funny. So that, I guess that's a big clue into all the need for the reshoots and all that. Yeah. Because that if that had been the ending, that wouldn't have been as good.
No.
The ending that we have now, like we've said before, ties so well into A New Hope, where it's like everything is accounted for and makes sense.
Well, yeah, and people are, I don't know why, some people, I guess, were upset that all the main characters died, but wouldn't they have had to? Well, I mean, we're shoehorning in a lot of information here for stuff that we know happened for certain.
Sure.
So if they had all survived or most of them survived, what's the explanation of them not being involved in A New Hope or so on and so forth? Don't you have to kill them off?
Maybe. There's that, and then there's also like what we've talked about before, how them dying, like from the story part of it, how them dying reinforces this. People have to sacrifice a lot for the rebellion. And, ultimately, who's really better, the Empire or the rebellion? If the rebellion has to do all this terrible stuff and still tons of people are dying.
Yeah, what Cassian was saying about we all had to do terrible things.
Right. So what cause is really better, like that kind of tension. I don't know. That's way better to me than this kind of little, oh, look, they're still alive. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a little cheesy.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. So, I'm glad that, everyone was complaining about the reshoots early on, but I'm glad. I mean, it sounds like it was really necessary.
That's why films do reshoots. I mean, that's the people, just like anyone that knows anything about the way movies are created, or the ones who weren't complaining on the internet, like, yeah, that's a normal thing that happens with every single movie you've ever seen. This is just Star Wars and it's getting blown out of proportion.
Well, so was it blown out of proportion because we found out about it? Because you don't normally hear about this kind of stuff, right? For different movies?
I think it was blown out of proportion because another writer's name was attached.
Instead of Gary Whitta?
Well, because there's like an extra writer that was then added to the credits after the reshoots.
So
almost like it was blown out of proportions. Just like, oh, so much has changed. They're totally remaking the movie. It's something completely different now. Almost an Ewok story. Oh, whatever people. I don't know what the internet was saying. They make up a lot of stupid shit.
That would be quite a movie.
You remember those Ewok movies, though, right?
Quite some reshoots. What?
You remember those old Ewok movies, though, right? The live-action Ewok movies, the Ewok Adventures.
What? No. What?
What?
No.
Are you serious?
There were live-action Ewok movies?
Yes, with 2 children. You don't remember this at all?
No.
Okay. This is look it up time.
It's not
the Ewok Adventure movie, 1984. Yeah, you've never seen this?
That sounds familiar. I've never seen
it.
No. It sounds familiar though. We can't watch this now. No, yeah, you're showing me the poster, and I've never seen that before.
Caravan of Courage, an Ewok Adventure, okay, 1984.
The caravan thing. That sounds familiar. But I've never seen any of this.
How have you never seen it? Yeah, Wicket was in it, it was still Warwick Davis, and then it was these 2 kids, and they were on. I don't remember what was happening. They were on.
It was on Endor
for whatever god awful reason.
2 kids were on Endor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
I've got to find this movie now so you can watch it. I did not know.
Wow.
You didn't know this existed. Yeah, I believe there were a couple different Ewok movies. So this one, look at the DVD. There's Ewok Adventures, and there's Caravan of Courage and The Battle of Endor, which is another movie. It's a double feature DVD, and it's 3 hours and 10 minutes of film between the 2. So it's like 2 hour-and-a-half movies.
I've never seen this.
Wow. Okay, well that is.
I guess I need to stop watching the holiday special.
That's a new movie night. It's got 25% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What does the holiday special have again? It was lower than that, wasn't it? Do you remember?
I would hope so. Please tell me it's lower than 25%. Nope, it's 43%.
That's right. Well, you brought that up last night. Wow, so this is worse?
Supposedly. I remember watching it a couple times as a child.
A couple times?
Yeah, at least a couple times.
And
how did I watch it? Because I didn't have it on VHS that I remember.
And VHS was
it on a television channel?
That was your window into the world, right? Was VHS.
That's the only way I experienced anything. By choice. I had options. I just,
That matches up with you now. You have options, but, why bother?
I work from home. I've left the house once this week. Yeah.
You never experience outdoors on purpose.
I can get groceries delivered to me. That's already not a problem. That's a thing now.
Yeah.
In Florida, getting liquor and alcohol delivered to you is still not a big thing.
And donuts. You can't do that. I don't know of a delivery donut place around here. There might be
Uber Eats or Postmates. I could probably get someone to get me donuts.
Yeah, that's true. You could do.
My wife also leaves the house, so I could probably get her to get me donuts.
You could do I don't know. I've never seen Dunkin' Donuts on, which unfortunately is the only donut place.
You're gonna send out for donuts, or you're just gonna get Dunkin' Donuts, or
where else would you go?
I'm not the one having to go get them. Go get good donuts. Go find the good donut place.
There aren't any. I swear there aren't.
Sure, let me start throwing out local places that mean nothing to anyone listening.
This is an Orlando podcast.
Donut King. Donut King is the best donuts anywhere.
Could you get that on Postmates?
I haven't seen it.
You should be able to.
But it's probably further away than someone would deliver back to my house.
I mean, how number one, how easy would it be? And number two, how much in demand?
Post a Craigslist wanted ad and then just wait for someone to respond to bring me donuts.
Man 4D. Man for donut. I lost connection ad.
Male 28 looking for D. And then in the post, it's...
I was the man in the red sweater.
It's as vague as possible until like the last sentence where I explain that I'm wanting donuts.
You were the pale circle covered in glaze.
Oh, how your hole fills me.
Oh, how your hole needs to be filled with my tongue.
I want your holes inside me.
How I want to bite you all over. Lick off your sweet glaze. Chew your sprinkles.
This sounds like something that you've already written many drafts of.
What? Huh?
That's what I thought.
But seriously, how much in demand would a delivery donut business be?
It would be good.
And it would be so easy. You don't have to keep them hot.
Where my sister lives, there's a place that delivers cookies. They deliver cookies and milk. That's what they do. It's a place that just delivers cookies and milk.
Where she lives? What'd you say?
Where my family lives. My sister, yeah. They're in a college town, and this college town...
Oh, I'm thinking like she lives in a building that...
yeah, she lives in a cookie delivery service. Shh, don't tell them. No, it's a place in their town that just delivers milk and cookies. Like 24 hours, milk and cookies.
See, that's a great idea.
But it's a college town, so they probably actually get enough, patronage to stay in business.
This is a college town.
I would probably spend enough money on donuts delivery for them to stay in business.
There are at least 3 very reputable colleges here. I don't understand why we don't have delivery donuts.
Stop the podcast. We've got a business. Let's...
Hokey Religion.
We're going to buy the donuts from someone else, and then we'll sell them at a markup. Because we don't know how to make donuts, and we're not going to learn.
Donuts are easy to make.
All we have to do is throw some sprinkles on them and call them our own.
There's frying involved. All right, let's go over the steps for making a donut. 1, dough.
Yes.
2, nuts.
Holes.
Yes, holes.
Yes, you gotta make
you put
holes.
the hole on the dough.
Yeah. You make the dough, and then you make the holes, and then you put them together.
And then frying. There's some frying involved. You fry. And then you glaze.
You collect oil to fry them in from various
squeezings,
creatures, wildlife.
Oil creatures, yes.
Raccoon oil is the best for donuts.
Go squeeze a couple raccoons, into a cup. You take whatever comes out, you put it in a fryer, you put your donut in it.
Yeah. Done.
Take it out. What?
Yeah. Throw some sprinkles on it from a distance.
Throw it. It has to be across from the room.
3 feet.
You need that
3
spread.
feet or less, and it's not a donut.
It's just...
If you're not chucking sprinkles.
It's just a sprinkle can at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then...
You deliver them.
And then deliver them.
No, not even a box. You just hold. You just take the donut on your hand, and you take it to the people.
It's so easy.
So are we made to order donut delivery? Because that would be...
Made to order?
Yeah, so it's...
Screw that.
And you can only buy one at a time.
So
if you want 5 donuts, I gotta make the one and bring it to you. And then I gotta come back and make another one, and then I gotta bring it to you.
That's made to order. We're not that.
One at a time. Okay. Not one at a time. Either.
No.
Okay, that's good. That I can get on board for that.
Well, raccoon oil can only be so consistent, so.
Well,
Can't guarantee it'll come out how you want it.
Not all raccoons are
the same.
3-star raccoons.
3 stars.
I don't know. How do you rate your raccoons?
Is it a star system, or is it a?
Count the rings on their tail. That's how you know if there's more rings. It's good oil.
I see.
Yeah.
You ever seen a 1-ring raccoon?
Is that just...
That's just a squirrel.
It's just a squirrel.
You ever squeeze a squirrel by the pale moonlight?
Are we now also writing country songs? So now suddenly we're not a podcast. We're a donut making and delivery service.
This is Hokey Religion's podcast / country song production company.
We're purveyors of country music and coon donuts and podcasts.
/ donuts.
Welcome to Florida.
Yeah, I don't see the problem with this.
Welcome to Central Florida, where
that is
our country songs are about raccoons. Our country songs are about squirrels, and our donuts are made from raccoons.
That's probably
Please
true.
leave.
That's true.
Help us.
Please leave.
Yeah, no one.
Do we say that?
No, that's Floridians.
Oh, we have to say that now.
Else.
That's
yeah.
right.
Everyone says please leave.
We have to say please leave to everyone.
Yeah. America the beautiful, please leave.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the new law, I guess.
That's our slogan, America.
Anyway. What are we talking about?
Now that we've offended everyone with our raccoon donuts and our squirrel love, I don't know what was happening with the squirrel in that song.
No, squirrels are just substitutes for raccoons. That's all.
Oh, I was about to say squirrels were substitutes.
Oh, have you
for
ever
love.
squeezed a squirrel by pale moonlight?
Occasionally.
Have you ever touched a branch by the
tip of your donut? All right, we're done. Just shut it down. It's over.
That's it. Episode
No
41.
one wants this.
That's it.
No, I read Empire's End, and I will talk about it. Damn it!
All right. So what do I do? Just sit here and listen?
I'm gonna start.
You've got
I'm gonna
2
start reading the
pages of
book.
notes.
I'm gonna read the book, starting in the first chapter,
Can you
until I
summarize
reach chapter
this?
38, and then
Can
we will be done.
You can summarize this, right?
I'm just gonna read you the entire book.
Only 38 chapters. So readable.
Yes, it is. Correct.
Okay.
With interludes and some, an epilogue and.
Before you get into this, I asked you before we started recording, is the ending satisfying?
Nope.
And you said no. So
satisfying to what we want to know, with everything else that's happening.
what I asked.
It is satisfying for the main characters, which is in service of the book. It does not answer who Snoke is or what happened to the Empire or any of that. So I'm sorry that I can't help you there.
Yeah, I don't understand that doesn't really make me want to read this.
I'm sorry. Should we just stop?
Is it
talk about it? We're done?
Does it answer enough to where you're intrigued about, like, you want to continue learning about the stuff that they bring up?
Yeah.
Or
I want.
Or does it just shut down all? Like, it just raises it. It's like a Lost episode or something. Where it just raises a ton of questions, and they're all just stupid questions, and you don't want to know the
No.
answers.
I mean, it gets you to a point where, like, okay, so now what happens next? What happens next? Where is Snoke?
Okay.
Like, it gets to that point of what's going on with the Empire now, and how did they turn into the First Order?
Okay.
Because that is something that's very different.
All right.
So I have notes from the book.
Summarize.
First off, I'm sad to report. Well, first off, anyone that hasn't read Empire's End and wants to leave now, because this is going to be pretty much the rest of the conversation. Now
you
that I've
might
said
miss
that,
a gem about donuts and squeezing squirrels.
yes.
So, stick around if you like that kind of stuff.
If you like that, you're
If that's just
probably
what
still here,
gets you rock hard, then
like a donut.
then man, have I got a boner for you? No, that's not right.
I don't think that's a saying. I don't think any of that is a saying. None of it.
Man, have I got a boner for you? It's not mine.
It's just a radio commercial that comes on. What? Anyways, I'm sad to report that Mr. Bones is dead.
Oh no!
Starting out, he died. He did.
He's starting out?
No. I'm starting out the conversation
Oh.
with Bones dies at the end of the book.
Well.
So, no cartoon show for him. It's
Such a bright shining star cannot exist in a world that is so
fizzled
cruel.
out and has left us in the dark. Goodbye, Mr. Bones. And anecdotally, whatever you want to say, Dengar was actually featured quite a bit in the latter half of the book.
Really?
And he received a full pardon after the end of the war.
What? Why?
He helped Jazz. Yaz, I don't know how you pronounce her name. Jas. Jazz Amari. She's the bounty hunter that's part of the group in the book. And
she's the one who
about halfway through
rescues everybody, right?
Yes, he was with Mercurial Swift, who's the other bounty hunter who was chasing Jazz.
Yeah.
And she beat Mercurial up, and Dengar's like, all right, I'll follow you now. Whatever, I'm here.
Was Mercurial the one wearing Mandalorian armor?
No, that's another guy
right.
elsewhere. He was Mercurial Swift was the bounty hunter working for Ray Sloan and trying to get information on Rax and stuff like that.
I remember that. Okay.
But Mercurial put together this group of bounty hunters. Dengar was one of them.
Yeah.
She beat up Mercurial Swift and then promised them money, and Dengar was like, all right, whatever. So for helping her, she was able to get them all that helped her a full pardon as well as payment. So as of the end at the end of the Empire, Dengar has a full pardon. So he's got a whole life ahead of him. So we need to find out
what's
going on with Dengar. I like that he was in the book because he was in an interlude in the very first one, I think, first or second one.
Was he?
And then wasn't mentioned again. But then he was, he had a speaking role in this book, which I guess he.
Well,
I don't remember the last time I heard Dengar speak because that would be never.
He's in Battlefront. That's the only time I've heard him.
He's just like a country British accent, right?
Huh?
Isn't he just
country British? Cockney?
Yes.
Is that what you're trying to say? Yes.
I'm not calling out one specific people, but sure. Yes, let's go with Cockney. He's very.
What do you mean one specific?
He's very trash, right?
Country British is pretty.
Sure.
Specific.
Yeah.
But
So
wrong.
He has quite a few lines of his slang, Brit sounding accent, which is. It's nice to have Dengar in something that's not just a video game. He's an actual character that does something other than stand on a bridge of a ship, which is nice.
I watched. I put on Empire Strikes Back for my son the other day, and I told him before we put it on, Dengar's in this movie because I got him a Dengar action figure that he really likes, and so he kept asking me, "Show me, where's Dengar? Where's Dengar? Show me when he comes up." So it goes to that bridge scene, and I never realized he's in there for a split second, and that's the only time you see him in the entire movie.
He's just standing on that,
just in the background,
on that bridge,
out of focus, behind Vader or somebody.
Yeah,
the way the shot works, but that's it. You never see him anywhere else. He's not. Well, I don't know. Is he in Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi? I forget.
He might be in the background.
He might be.
I honestly do not.
I'd have to see again. But anyway, in Empire at least, he is. I mean, Forlom gets that shot panning up to him and the other dude. What's his name? What's the other guy? The bug guy.
What, Forlom?
Forlom's the short one, right? With the yellowish outfit.
Know who you're trying to talk about right now. You're not describing people in
I'm
any way.
Describing bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Short guy with a yellowish outfit. That's one of the bounty hunters that's up there. Not Bosk. Forlom looks like. Oh wait, Forlom is the droid.
IG-88's also a droid. And Forlom's a droid.
I know who IG-88 is.
I don't know. You don't seem to know anyone right now.
The tallish black droid. Who's the shorter? I can't remember. Anyway, doesn't really matter.
Whatever.
Who's the other bounty hunter? It does kind of matter, actually.
So there's Bosk, there's Boba Fett, there's IG-88,
Dengar,
there's Dengar, there's Forlom, and
then the other guy. Starts with a Q, right? Does it start with a Q?
Q-Bert.
Yeah, it's Q-Bert. Q-Bert's on the bridge of the Executor.
Q-Bob.
Q...
Quincy. Quincy the bounty hunter.
Quincy Jones. It's Q, isn't it? Or it's like Quiz? Is it Quiz?
Cornhole. I don't.
Are you looking it up? Because I'm about to.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Because you're confusing me as to who you're actually talking about at this point.
There's another guy. You know who I'm talking about, right? There's that shot where Forlom, it pans up, and it's Forlom and the bug guy. Picture
because you're confusing me.
Oh my gosh! How hard is it to look up?
Because that's Forlom right there.
Bounty hunters.
That's Forlom.
Yeah. There's one other one though. In Empire Strikes
good
Back
for the episode.
Bounty hunters in Empire Strikes Back. Blah blah blah. Zuckuss. Not with a Q.
Not with a Q. That's why I was so confused. I'm like, who are you talking about?
No, he's next to Forlom. You just can't see him.
Yeah, I unfortunately could not remember.
Also, not wearing a yellow outfit. Oh wait, well, it's kind of yellowish brown. It's brown. It's not yellow.
It's kind of yellow.
It looks yellow in that picture, right? A little bit. It's the way the light's reflecting.
Looks
off
like khaki.
It looks a little yellow.
Zuckuss is wearing khakis.
Yeah, it's the space khakis.
Space khaki?
He is the shorter one. I was right about that. He
Sure.
is a bug dude.
Yes.
I was right about that. Dengar's in a lot of these pictures somehow, but none of these pictures show up in the movie.
Interesting.
Anyways.
So thanks for that sidetrack as to Zuckuss existing.
Why are we talking about that? Because Dengar was there?
I don't know how you get us to where we end up ever. I was
talking about how little...
It's your fault, and I fully blame you.
I was talking about how little Dengar shows up in the movies. Sorry for talking about the movies. Continue. Talk about this book that no one cares about that I've never read.
Thank you. So, speaking on things that aren't just those little anecdotes from the book. So we had talked before about, how Palpatine thinks there's something out there. Mm-hmm. And I think I mentioned this last time that Brenton Wexley had said he had heard of rebels that had intercepted Empire transmissions, that they had figured out how to hack hyperspace drives to snatch their frequencies out of far space, and one person caught a snippet that came from some far-off system, Adumar, he thinks, in wild space, and the transmission said something about a laboratory or a hidden facility, and they sent scouts to look for it, and nothing ever came of it. So I'm not sure about wild space, if that's outside of the known galaxy, or if is that at the edge of the known galaxy, wild space?
Isn't that between galaxies? Isn't that the space between?
So maybe it's another observatory, which is something that's in the book that we'll talk about.
Maybe, yeah. So can I sidetrack you one more time?
Sure.
Remind me of what you started talking about.
That they could hack hyperspace drives to snatch frequencies out of far space. Brenton Wexley.
Damn it. No.
Brenton Wexley. That's
mind.
the first thing I said on that sentence. Paragraph.
Something came to my mind and
Adumar.
flittered away.
That's usually how.
If I was Donald Trump, I would have said it by now.
Great. Topical. So speaking of the observatories.
Oh,
shit.
Yes.
I just almost on topic, and then Michael brings us right back out of it.
We have not talked about how, or have we?
Go on.
We used to have a unknown threat, quote unquote, in the EU, and that was the Yuzon Vong. Have we talked about this already?
I think you did.
Okay. Then I probably said the point that I already want to say.
You brought it up,
now.
I think, last episode.
Was it last?
I don't remember.
Maybe that's why I
anything
vaguely
that
remember
happened.
it. But anyway, I'll say it real quick, just in case you haven't heard that one. My point that I keep coming back to is we've already had this. It was the Yuzon Vong, and it was kind of dumb in the EU because it was like this thing that showed everybody, oh, we actually have to work together and not fight so much.
That sounds really dumb. So it was something else that the Empire and the Rebels had to come together to fight this other thing?
It was a threat out from outside of the galaxy. It was this alien race.
I really don't
came
remember
and
that.
Invaded their galaxy, the galaxy we know.
So,
and everybody had to fight them, and it was like, yeah, it was weird. They were around in the EU. They killed Chewbacca. That's how Chewbacca died.
When they dropped the planet on him or whatever.
They dropped a planet on him. Yeah, that's how Chewbacca died.
Didn't a moon crash into the planet that Chewbacca was on or something?
I don't know.
And that
a moon?
A planet, something. They
I don't know. Maybe that's
played
right.
billiards with the planets. And
the Yuzon Vong were involved somehow. Anyway, that's it. That's all I'll say.
End of
we've already done this.
that thing.
I hope it's not this. What I'm actually hoping for, which you'll get to in a minute, I'll bring that up later. There's something else I'm hoping for that's actually going on, but I don't know if that's true.
I hope it's Snoke. But so...
Well, yeah, in the way that you're about to talk about.
Yeah, so in having the observatory, so on Jakku, there's this observatory, which the observatory on Jakku is part of this contingency that Palpatine set up with Gallius Rax. He was the contingency.
All right.
So Palpatine had... We discussed this before in the previous books.
The contingency for the end of the Empire.
For the Empire, yes.
Okay.
So we talked before how Palpatine sent Rax to be head over, to be watching over this thing that they were doing on Jakku. They were drilling something. So in this, Palpatine's saying now, after whatever Gallius Rax was doing on Jakku, which we now know was the observatory, he comes back to Palpatine, and Palpatine, he says the artifacts are in place and the core has been drilled. So in the book, you find out in the observatory on Jakku, they drilled this well straight through the mantle all the way to the planet's core. Apparently, Jakku used to be a green, lush planet with oceans and stuff, and apparently drilling to the core destroyed the planet.
So Palpatine, when he
I'm
sent
guessing
Rax to
when
go
Palpatine started, he sent, originally Advisor Tashu started the drilling process, and that's when Gallius Rax stowed away on Tashu's ship back to Palpatine.
Yeah, we get this.
So I'm guessing at some point there were, before the drilling, I'm guessing.
So at the very beginning.
That's my question is, so.
That was at the beginning of this book, right?
Yeah. So it says the core has been drilled. Like when he came back, he said the core has been drilled. So I'm guessing Gallius Rax and what they did was when they drilled the core. It wasn't beforehand.
Well, that was the only reason they were on Jakku, right? Was to set up this facility with the drill and everything?
Yeah, and that was said because he also says that, there are these observatories, there are many scattered across the galaxy, and all of them look beyond the galaxy's margins in different directions. Palpatine began establishing them before the start of the Empire, infusing each with a purpose. And he said that at one point it mentions he doesn't know if Palpatine built them all or if some of them were built prior to Palpatine. He doesn't know how old all of them necessarily are.
Really?
It's
so
reference,
this may not
reference that they're not. He's not sure if all of them were built by Palpatine or if it was something that started prior to Palpatine.
Wow, that's interesting. So this may not be Palpatine's idea, possibly.
But in building the observatory on Jakku in this contingency, Palpatine says, if an empire cannot protect its emperor, then that empire must be deemed a failure. It collapses not only because its central figure is gone, but because it must not be allowed to remain.
So is this a contingency for the emperor himself?
So the emperor's contingency is if the emperor dies, everyone goes with me. There is no more empire if I'm not around. I do not want anyone else to be in charge of the empire if I am not here.
Wow.
The empire is mine, and without me, I will not allow there to be an empire.
And
so his contingency is destroy everything, including yourself. And it's over. Empire's over. Kind of.
Interesting.
So Rex.
So why was there all that propaganda about the emperor not dying that was going around in the middle of the Empire after?
Well, that was everyone else spouting that nonsense while Rax was trying to enact his plan of eventually getting to destroying the Empire.
So you said the Emperor's messengers,
the Sentinels,
Sentinels, that's right, show up in this book, right?
They do. They so there's regular Sentinels that give commands or appear and give commands to various Imperial people and then would leave. But apparently there were ones reserved specifically for Rax and the master plan, this contingency, and that they were smarter and almost sentient.
Huh. But they were
very
robots?
smart Sentinels. There's a lot of these Sentinel robots. In the observatory, there's dozens of them.
Okay. Because there was a Sentinel in
is it Shattered Empire?
Shattered Empire. Yeah. One of the, I don't remember which book or which book. But he shows up on a Star Destroyer and talks about how the contingency's been activated or something like that.
Okay.
And talking about how everything will burn now or everything needs to burn or something like that.
Okay.
So which lines up with this now?
Yeah.
Back then,
and that was way before any of this existed.
Right. Back then, this whole deal wasn't fleshed out at all.
Yeah. So these observatories, like I said, they all point in different directions, looking beyond the galaxy's margins. Some have Sith artifacts, some house powerful weapons or weapon designs, or some of them are weapons themselves, and others are meant as prisons. And for decades, at least the one on Jakku, but I assume they all have this, for decades the computers there were plotting a journey outside of the known galaxy. And it references Thrawn in the book, saying that Palpatine had Thrawn, and he knew of traversing through this because apparently, I guess, the Chiss are outside the known galaxy. And that he had information, and basically much of what Thrawn knew went into the computations of these computers and them running their tests, trying to find a path out of the galaxy, because there's all these electric storms and black holes, and like pretty much anyone that's tried to leave the galaxy has died or never been heard from again. Or if you do hear from them, they've gone mad. And apparently the computers finished computing right before or close to before Palpatine's death in Return of the Jedi. They finished plotting the course
Interesting.
before his death in Return of the Jedi.
So going back real quick to the Thrawn thing, that's what was kind of talked about a little bit in the excerpt that came out.
Yeah. Thrawn said he had information, or he had something that would help.
Right. He was using it as leverage to get close to the Emperor. So this is that leverage that he had.
I'm assuming.
Was information about, was it about outside of the galaxy, or was it?
It didn't really say. He
how
said
to make the connection?
It would help the Empire.
Okay, interesting.
And so, like we discussed, Palpatine is convinced that there's something waiting for him outside of the known galaxy, that there's some origin of the Force or a dark presence, and that he could, and then once the path was clear, like once it plotted a course, like he said he could feel waves of it now that the path was clear.
Interesting.
So Palpatine strongly believed, Rax just thinks Palpatine's crazy and just gone mad at this point. Rax doesn't really believe in all this Force stuff all that much. And thinks the Emperor's gone mad. But the Emperor's still really convinced there's something out there, which we don't know what that is still.
So Rax was convinced the Emperor was mad when he was still alive?
Yeah, near the end of it, when he was talking about all this and the contingency and destroying the Empire, and he started thinking, okay, you've kind of lost it. But part of this contingency is, so at the end, the plan was, Rax was, at every observatory is a replica, an exact copy of the Emperor's pleasure yacht, Imperialis. So every observatory has a copy of this ship.
Interesting.
And so he was to board the ship, basically, and a Sentinel was going to fly him out of the known galaxy. They've actually already sent ships out that are waiting for them, which includes a Dreadnought, a Super Star Destroyer that they had left that they had hidden.
Really?
That was supposedly destroyed by the rebels, or it's marked in the records that the rebels destroyed it in the
it's called the Dreadnought? It's an executor
it's
class?
called, yes, it's a giant ship. It's called, I'd have to look up the name again.
This isn't the Ravager, right?
No, the Ravager is the one that crashes on Jakku.
So this is another executor class?
This is another Super Star Destroyer that supposedly was destroyed in battle with the rebels, or it's in the archives and the records it is, but that was
in
obviously
Jakku?
Forged. No, prior to that, even before.
Interesting.
But apparently they had hidden it away and sent it out already.
Wow.
So it's out of the galaxy and hidden.
So that has a full crew on it, probably, right?
Probably. We assume there was never a lot of information about it. So there's other ships and people waiting for them outside of the galaxy. So Rax was going to board the Imperialis and get out and go meet with the contingency that was left. And basically the Emperor's...
The contingency on the ship, on the Super Star Destroyer?
Like everyone that was left, yeah. So everyone they had sent off.
Oh. Right.
So the Emperor's whole analogy he was giving to Rax back when he finished the observatory when he was still younger is that basically everything that's happening is a game board. And, when I lose, the game board needs to be broken and tossed aside, and a new game board needs to be found. So basically, destroy the Empire, get out, find a new place to take over.
Interesting.
So he's almost like, leave this galaxy, find another galaxy, and make the Empire in control of that one, because this one's lost. Which is very strange.
By the way, real quick, the thing that happened in Shattered Empire, the Sentinel came and told some lieutenant on a Star Destroyer to activate Operation Cinder.
Cinder
was what it was called.
Interesting.
Which was they set their course to Naboo, launched a bunch of weather control satellites around Naboo that created these gigantic storms and hurricanes and crap.
Jeez.
And we're trying to basically completely destroy Naboo.
Wow.
With these, crazy weather storms and stuff. The rebels show up and destroy the Star Destroyer and, save that from happening. But I guess Palpatine was trying to erase... This is what I think was happening. He was trying to erase any record of him, maybe?
Of himself? Interesting.
Maybe. I mean, because that's where he was from, right? He was the senator. or Chancellor. What was he on Naboo? I forget.
That's interesting.
What was he on Naboo? He was a senator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a senator for Naboo. Yeah. So he's from there. That's his home world. So I assume that that's what he was trying to do.
So that's interesting. So prior to all of this contingency and Rax supposed to be getting on the Imperialis, so kind of setting the stage before this. So prior, Rax had been stealing children on Jakku. And these children, most of them were these children that were with the Anchorites or others. And even Tashu comments on the Anchorites, saying that the Anchorites' faith has ties to the Force, to the light side. 1,000 years ago, the Anchorites of Jakku bound themselves to the Jedi. Interesting information for Jakku.
Huh.
Even Han at one point had referenced that he knew Jakku. I know it. I've been there once years ago. They have some kind of Hokey religion. He does say that.
Hey.
They got some kind of Hokey religion there in the South. So the Anchorites were tied to the Jedi in some way.
Cementing ourselves in canon.
Ha! Not at all. So there's these Anchorites are tied to the Jedi. There's, like we mentioned before, there's some kind of Force something on Jakku. But he said he was taking the children because they too will serve a purpose for me. They will be the first. And then I think it was Sloane that said the first what? And he doesn't answer. The First Order. I don't know. So this...
Oh, hold on. Oops.
Thank you for the interlude there. We'll have to fix that for the final episode, so thanks. So these children, he said, they'll be the first in what? Maybe the First Order, I don't know. But these children that he stole, he had Hux turning them into these robot murder monsters. So they were
murder monsters.
They were they were basically feral children because they were children of the desert. But he basically turned them into mind controlled murder children. He would just say, "Kill that guy," and the child would just jump on the guy and slit his throat.
Jeez.
He turned them into these awful monster children.
Some kind of brainwashing.
Whatever Hux does at Imperial Academy apparently did that to these children, or worse. Near the end, Rax puts Hux's son, Armitage, whatever, in charge of these children, and his son's 10 or something, young. And so his son is in charge of these children because Rax thinks that Hux will die someday soon, for whatever reason. So Rax was kept to create these feral murder children, and I guess he...
Rax was kept?
I mean, Hux was kept to create these murder children, so maybe that's what the First Order, most of them were taken as children. That seems to be Hux's thing. Take them as young children and mold them into
that's definitely what happened, because that's how Finn started. Yeah. He was taken as a kid.
Very interesting seeing that kind of start with Hux. But Hux is a son of a bitch. No one likes him. He's a blubbering idiot in this book.
Really?
He has a paunch. He's a little overweight, and no one likes him. And he's Sloane beats the shit out of him, and he just starts crying on the floor.
Really?
In the book, yeah, he's totally not the Hux that we know yet.
Wasn't he like that in
he's
Bloodlines
just a sad little yes sir guy.
Wasn't he like that in Bloodlines too?
I guess a little bit. So
I thought they mentioned him being kind of overweight.
So I guess until he's fully in control in the First Order, I guess then does he finally?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I found that interesting.
Crazy.
With these weird children that Hux has created, and that Rax was stealing for whatever purpose. For his new order that he was going to create outside of the galaxy, I guess.
Yeah.
As well as Tashu, I think I mentioned this before, a couple episodes ago. Is Tashu had these his acolytes of his own, basically. The acolytes of the Beyond are controlled by Tashu, and that they were collecting Sith artifacts like lightsabers and other things. And at one point in the book, it says, other lightsabers they've sacrificed to the Sith beyond, those who have died and who wait beyond the veil, and whose orders the acolytes follow. Those ancient specters are the ones who give them the dreams, after all.
Interesting.
So these kids all had Sith, dreams of the Sith, both ancient and living, and dreams coming to them in their sleep, and darkness inhabiting them. And Tashu was basically in charge of them and having them do his bidding and collect these artifacts and other things, because Tashu's a nut. He is killed by Rax at the end. Rax pushes him into the well as a because Tashu thought that he and Rax were both going to jump into the well as a sacrifice to Palpatine.
Tashu thought that?
Yes, but Rax, like, can I ask you a question? Like, Rax asked him, he's like, what are you going to say when you see our master again? And before he could answer, he just shoved him in the hole.
Rax sounds like a banker or some kind of
Rax gets
really grounded.
He gets really weird. He's like a mix between Thrawn and...
He's like Thrawn with Krennic. No vision. Yeah, like...
It's like Thrawn Krennic.
Self-absorbed.
He can be really smart, but he has like this self-absorbed plan that doesn't work out, obviously, because Rax does die.
Like he can only see what's right in front of him.
So I'm assuming Rax is not Snoke because he gets shot in the chest by a blaster by Sloane, and is supposedly dead. It said that he went limp and was bleeding. So I assume he's dead.
Rax was the one who just kind of showed up with a Star Destroyer, right? Or he had the Super Star Destroyer all along.
And then we found out he's always been around since way forever ago. Just no one knew about him because he had been off doing this thing on Jakku and other stuff.
Okay, so we found out that he didn't just appear from outside of the galaxy. He was
he was very close to the Emperor.
He was just not missing, but out doing this stuff.
Yeah,
like
he was never an admiral or anything fancy to anyone else.
So his claim to fame was just being close to the Emperor. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, no one really knew who he was. Even Sloane had to figure out who he was. He was just an advisor prior to him taking over from Sloane.
Okay.
So Rax had sent Hux and the Crazy Children, the Murder Kids, and Armitage, and a couple. I think it was just them. He had sent them to the Imperialis to wait for him while he was going to destroy Jakku. When he pushed Tashu into the well with like a bunch of these Sith artifacts, and like when he apparently hit the bottom, like everything turned red and like the planet started shaking from the power the force that was in the Sith artifacts. Like, apparently one of them is like a holocron that like sucked the light out of like the area near it. Like there was some dark shit. Like there was one of them was like a creepy mask with like kyber crystal eyes and a banner with like blood on it. It was some creepy Sith stuff.
Nice.
And he shoved him into the hole and like the planet started basically exploding, and he had like shut off all these vents that they had so that it would basically kill the planet.
Okay.
Well, Sloane and everyone shows up, and Sloane ends up killing him. She shuts off opens the vents or whatever so the planet doesn't get destroyed, and she kills Rax, and she decides to get on the ship with Hux and murders kids and Armitage.
Sloane?
Yes. Okay. Admiral Ray Sloane. She was the Grand Admiral. And they
go after this executor class that
they take off to follow the coordinates that they had.
Okay.
Outside the thing, and she found out when they took off that it also sent out like about a dozen pings to other locations, and she asked the thing piloting the ship is a Sentinel, and she asked, and it said that it was sending the coordinates to known loyal Imperials, so that they can meet up. So during the Battle of Jakku, it describes how most of the battle went on for months over Jakku. Like it didn't just end when that all happened. Like it went on for months. But some ships would keep fighting. Some ships would just suddenly hit light speed and in a direction of no known place, like towards the outside the galaxy.
Really,
like where did they go? Like they just think they went crazy. But they're obviously leading. So they come out of They have to like do little hyperspace jumps through this path out of the galaxy.
Sure.
And when they come out, she sees that Super Star Destroyer there waiting for them.
Nice.
And that's basically the last we have of them going out.
That's a cool ending. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hux lost weight on the way, like it mentions that he's slimmed down. But we don't know who is out there or what is out there or why they're meeting out there. We don't know anything about what's out there still.
I don't know. That's a cool ending, though.
It is cool.
I like that.
It is cool. But it doesn't wrap up why one, that now they can get outside the galaxy. So what's out there? Why are they meeting out there? What's this dark force?
Yeah.
If any of that's true.
Right.
But there is a contingency of the Empire that's out there.
Yeah.
There wasn't supposed to be, but I think as far as I know, well, maybe Rax was supposed to do some of this. So I don't know how much Rax, like they don't even know Sloane's coming and Sloane's in charge now.
Oh. Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
At some point, Hux takes over military control. Yes. But see, I'm trying to reconcile this with what we know about what we know from Bloodlines.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff in the galaxy, support from senators that don't like the Republic anymore, or, blah, 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 whatever. Senators that were part of the Empire. I don't know, all that junk that was in Bloodlines. There was all that support and money and actual troops and equipment and stuff there in that galaxy that was supposed to be the start of the First Order, right? And then
in Bloodlines.
And what's his name? Who is that guy?
So is any of it actually tied together yet?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because at that point, the Empire is gone at Bloodlines.
Yeah.
There's no remnant anymore.
Yeah, so at the end of the book, so Rax had put...
was there a remnant left in Bloodlines? I can't remember now.
They're like here and there, there's like little pockets of things, but not much. And
nothing like this.
Yeah, nothing like this. And so because I can never remember her name because we're recording a podcast, who was the advisor to Palpatine with the big blue guy with the horns?
Oh, Sheev
Palpatine is Palpatine.
No, yeah.
So that's his name.
No, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I can't.
I was just reading the book and it had his name, and now I just can't remember his name.
He was the Grand
Vizier.
Yeah,
he was
Vizier.
the Emperor's Grand Vizier.
Masamata. Or
yes,
Meta.
Masameta. However you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
So at the end, Rax had like hidden him away on Coruscant and like had him under guard because he was crazy. He just wanted to be done with everything, and he was just a nut job.
Yeah.
And Rax didn't want him getting involved and had him basically under guard in his room, and they would like send him food every once in a while.
Imprisoned.
Yes.
Okay.
So these children that started their own little uprising group on Coruscant freed him from his room.
Okay.
That happened. Whatever. So at the end of the book, Mon Mothma hears from him, and he wants to sign a ceasefire. So there's an official ceasefire from this guy who is for all intents and purposes the face of the Empire still. And there is a ceasefire, and some listen. People over Jakku do not. That goes on for months. But there is an official ceasefire, and some people are still criminals with war crimes, and some people are pardoned depending on their involvement and all of that. Sure. There's a whole wrap up to the battle with the Empire, and there's an official. This is the end of the Empire.
Well, that makes a lot more sense now, because I was when I first learned about Ray Sloan and this remnant, the fleet remnant and all that, to hear that they just surrendered seemed kind of
so she was still
weird.
So this Grand Admiral Ray Sloan goes off out of the galaxy with a super star destroyer that no one knows exists, and God knows how many other ships.
Right.
But the official Empire, that was Masameta, which was a blubbering idiot that wasn't in charge of any of this.
Right.
And they know that, but for all intents and purposes to the rest of the galaxy.
With no real forces or anything.
He has nothing. And he was
That's really interesting.
He's put back on Coruscant with just like a figurehead position that other people in charge of the New Republic tell him what to do, basically.
Right, and he's still around at Bloodlines.
Yeah, so he's still like in charge on Coruscant, but not really.
Yeah.
So there's an official ceasefire, and all of that happens, which is interesting. So that's kind of how it wraps up the quote Empire's End. So it doesn't. We don't have any.
It kind of sounds like it's worth reading.
It is. You should read the book. I liked it. It was great. The really cool. I mean, like I was telling you about. It's a very cinematic book. Like the way it ends, it's like it's all very cinematic. In reading, and the way the Ravager is brought down on Jakku is so badass. So when the New Republic first, after the battle with the Empire, they first start building their own ships. They have their own shipyard. They start building their first ships. They build these Starhawks.
Yeah.
They build these Starhawk ships, and like they put the best of everything in them, just like the best everything, the best tractor beams, the best everything. A tractor beam that is 10 times better than the tractor beam on a Super Star Destroyer.
Nice. Okay.
Well, the Super Star Destroyer Ravager has a bunch of regular Star Destroyers basically orbiting around it over the Battle of Jakku, protecting it.
Nice.
And one of the Star Destroyer like admirals or whatever you want to call them, just freaks out and decides to suicide turn into one of the Starhawk ships, which creates this explosion that's going to take out this I think that was Amity. And then there's this other Starhawk that's right there that's going to get destroyed. It jettisons most of the crew, but the captain stays on board. And she punches through a hole in the ships, launches everything she has at the Superstar Destroyer, punching a hole in its side. The Superstar Destroyer punches everything, shoots everything at it. At the last moment, she turns the ship so the side takes it, and she knows she's getting pulled into the atmosphere because of gravity, and she has nothing left. But the tractor beam's still working. That's why she turned the ship sideways, so the tractor beam would still be protected. As it's going down into the atmosphere, she grabs the Superstar Destroyer with the tractor beam, tells the rest of the Republic Armada to fire on the engines of the Superstar Destroyer. They take out the engines so it can't pull out of the tractor beam, and she just pulls it down into the atmosphere of Jakku.
Wow.
Forcing it to slowly crash into the ground nose first.
Wow.
And it just lands, just boom, and just like falls over.
Jeez.
So yeah, there's this tiny ship, like, it's probably not even a quarter of the size of a Superstar Destroyer, just drags it out of space with it while it's going down into the atmosphere on Jakku, which is
kind of cool.
Super cool.
Nice.
So yes, read the book. It's really good. That's all I have to say. I mean, that's really all the important things that I got out of it, as far as like, for us canonically, like, what does this mean going forward? Because that's, I want to know what happens now that this, so how do we get from that to the First Order and Snoke? Where do those tie into? Yeah. And are we going to get anything before The Last Jedi? I probably don't think so. It'll be interesting to find out what we find out about Snoke in The Last Jedi that we could possibly tie back to that. Because at some point we have to find out that he's from outside of the galaxy.
He has to be, especially if Hux
he has to be, because he's not even a race that we know of, right? He's pretty haggard looking, so I mean it's hard to tell, but
especially if Hux went out there,
yes,
and he ends up in Force Awakens being the leader of the military.
Yes.
Yeah, they have to find Snoke out there.
So it'd be interesting if we get more, if we get information in The Last Jedi, and then we get more books like this about what's going on out there. That'll be really cool.
Or something that fills in the gaps after this happened.
Yeah,
after they show up at this rendezvous.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So
sounds really good.
Yeah. Well, I think that has been a full episode.
A very full episode.
Us talking mostly only about Star Wars. Only a little bit of dicking around with raccoon oil. So high five, team.
Hooray.
We did it. So you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Twitter at Hokey_religion.
Send us a tweet.
Send us an email at asklobot@hokeyreligion.com if you have questions, comments.
Which is now working again.
Which is now working again. It was down for a time. If you emailed us and we never responded, please get back to us. We had a server problem with our emails. So hit us up on there. Leave us a review on iTunes. 1 star it has to be. All reviews
seriously
matter.
Leave us a review on iTunes, because that puts us higher on the top lists, or whatever kind of list they have on iTunes.
If you enjoy our podcast and want other people to find us without bothering a bunch of other people about listening to us, leaving a review is the most helpful thing. It takes a couple minutes. You sign into iTunes, leave however many stars you want. It doesn't have to be 5. We would like 5, but it doesn't have to be. Be honest, and write some words and then leave it.
Right.
Because we know there's more than 15 people listening, because we get those stats, and you should do it because it's helpful. Thank you.
It helps us, and it helps us know what we're doing and why.
Yes. And if you do enjoy us to the point of you wanted to support the show and help us make it better, you can go to patreon.com/hokeyreligion, and you can support us from as little as $1 or more. And there are benefits to doing so.
We live stream these episodes.
Those are up there for all patrons. And the archive of the live streams are now patron only as well. And then there's other tiers that will help us.
So if you want to see what we look like for whatever reason, give us $1.
It's not pretty. It's not pretty.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. It's
well, see, I'm looking at you, and then you're looking at me, so that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Well, this has been another episode of Hokey Religion. This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hokey Religion is an ancient weapon. Hokey Religion is an ancient weapon for no magic for a good blast here, true side.